اوكي ما شاء الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي واجعل لي وزيرا من أهلي هارون أخي اشدد به أزري وأشركه في أمري كي نسبحك كثيرا ونذكرك كثيرا إنك كنت بنا بصيرا. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. وصل اللهم على محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين. Amen. Now we have studied the story of Yusuf. We are already late, so we have to try our best to go as fast as possible. And we studied up to the verse section Yusuf, verse 5. Jacob replied, my son, don't tell your brothers your dream, or they may plot to harm you out of envy. Satan is men's open enemy. Now, what we realize here, then, Yusuf is advised not to tell his dream to his brothers. First of all, we have to understand that he is going to be appointed as a prophet. No, and then he is not going to tell stories or dreams. He is going to convey the message to the people, God-revealed message. That is one point that we can understand from here. So the prophets don't tell stories, they tell truth, reality. Now we will go into it later on. And why in this particular case that he shouldn't tell his dream to his brothers, we understand that the father, the prophet Jacob, is very much aware that his brothers are envying him and his brother, another brother, the younger brother. And we should pay attention to that. Envying is such an serious disease for us that even between brothers, excuse me. Okay, between brothers, it may take brothers, sisters, family members, other people, whoever they are given. What is the nature of envy? So that it is so serious. Envy comes from, or is the result of not attributing the beauty, good qualities that we admire to God, but to the person. And thinking that it is his virtue, his quality. And we are competing with this quality. I didn't have it, but he has it, or he or she has it. What does it mean? He gained it, but I couldn't gain it. Not that it is a gift from God for any reason, for any good quality or bad quality does not necessarily mean that this person deserves it. We have to understand that. Any good or bad quality doesn't mean that this person deserves it. That is very important. Something, a blessing of God, grace of God, may give to another person just to give the opportunity to him, whether he will be thankful for it, grateful for it, or he will appropriate it to himself. It doesn't mean that this person is given good qualities or anything good. It doesn't mean that this person is virtuous before God's eye. It never means that. Now, some people may be given some difficulties, pain or illness, or lots of unimaginable things, so that this person also is in the point of whether this quality, this pain is created by God or not. If it is created by God, if this person is aware of it, that it is created by God, he will say, God never means to harm his creatures, to harm anything that he had created or he creates. We have to understand that all of these good or bad things are opportunities for us to communicate with God. In the case of good, we communicate with God by thanking him, being grateful to him. In the case of bad things that we don't like, is again a means of communication with God by seeking his help, asking him, please, I need your help to remove this anything bad, I call it bad, from me, because it is given, created by you, only you can remove it, or show me a way to remove it. We see that some prophets are given very hard time in their life, hardship. Some prophets are given prosperous life. So it means even the prophets are not really always receiving endless blessings from God. That is not true. It may be this way or another way. So we have to see that the source of existence of any quality that we are envying is the creator of the universe and also my creator. Now, I can use this understanding and go to God, connect myself to God, and ask him, look, you have given this beautiful quality that I like, that I want also this one, and why don't you give it to me? Please give me as well. My communication should not be the object of anything that I admire or I like to have it, but the creator of that object. My communication will be established with the creator of that object. So it is always the case for everyone, as far as I understand from my own experience. Anything that attracts my attention, which appear to be happening or created on somebody else, I want to have it. It is quite human. This is an invitation from the Creator that he has given me this sense so that I would like to have it. This invitation means come to me and ask me to give this good quality to you as well. If I don't envy the person, but ask God, it means I am opening my path to have a positive attitude and finding myself encouraged to work for it, to struggle for it. And then when I work for it, I will find the means to get it, most probably, not necessarily because I may not be given for any good reason that God knows that it is good for me. But I have to struggle. But while I'm struggling, I have to know, be aware that I am asking God to give that good quality to me as well. So I am worshiping God. I am expressing my need of God in this way. So we understand that even we are not the subject of envying, but we may be the object of envying. What does it mean? We may have some good qualities gifted by God. If we know that, as the example shows it, if we know that this quality, if I show this quality to someone who cannot connect the creator of this quality to God as the creator, who cannot connect this good quality to the creator, but to myself, I should not show it. That's why the father of Prophet Yusuf says, don't tell to your brothers, because father knows that his brother's criterion, his brother's worldview is not that they will see it as a gift from God, so that they will turn to God and ask God to give them as well. Of course, if God's wisdom requires it, he will give it or not. But we have to look at our responsibility. Our responsibility is not to attribute the good qualities on other people to themselves, but to God, and use it as a means of addressing God, going back to God, and asking him to asking God to give the same quality to me as well in various ways. Okay, that is one thing. Okay, all right. Another thing is, at the end, so Satan is man's open enemy. Why is Satan is man's open enemy in this context? Because if someone doesn't attribute anything to its creator, what does he do? He must attribute this thing to a created being. That is the Satanic view, because it has no reality. Satan represents something which is not reality. We have to be careful. Anything regarded not in terms of God, but in terms of the created beings, is a satanic understanding, satanic attitude. Shirk, committing shirk, is a satanic attitude. for example, telling a lie is a satanic attitude. None of them, or stealing somebody's property and saying that it is mine. It is not yours. This is a lie. And belonging this property to you does not exist. You may use it, but it doesn't belong to you. When you use it as if it is yours, but it's not yours. These are all satanic. Envying also is satanic. We have studied, we have been talking about it, because the person who envies another person's good qualities is attributing the quality to person himself and seeing him as a privileged person. None of them is true. Not everybody who is prosperous or very handsome, very knowledgeable, whatever, good standing in the society, whatever he has, is created by God. This man deserves it or not deserves it. Deserving is nothing to do with reality. God treats people in different ways. Some people with giving good qualities and good opportunities and giving them the opportunity to exercise their worship of God. Some people may be given some, I don't know how to say it, but may be given to some, bad qualities. I mean, if there is a bad quality or not, that's another problem. Bad qualities, then we have to understand that this is also an opportunity to turn to God, for the person who received it, to turn to God and ask him to remove it from him. These are all excuses for us to communicate with God. God gives and treats people in different way. I think we have enough of it, and we have to move out. If you don't have any questions or concerns about this very practical subject. Envy is, I always say that envying, jealousy is something beyond human control. So if you don't have a right stand, inevitably you have to envy. If someone doesn't have a right stand, it means if someone doesn't attribute and is not aware of everything is created by God, everything is happening according to the will of God only. My will doesn't necessarily has an effect on the creation of anything, but my will is only a request from God. Whatever I use, wherever the direction I use my will, asking God to create it for me. It's a way of begging, not really creating. I think these are important matters. Inshallah, when we pay attention to it, we will be much more comfortable in our life. Okay, we are going forward. All right. The verse 6, Bismillah, your Lord will choose you and teach you the interpretation, in bracket, inner meaning of events. Now, this is very interesting. The other one is dream. So it is the ta'bir. For the dream is ta'bir. It means something else. But here is the word is used, ta'wil. It is very important. This word is extremely important. This ta'wil. Now, okay, we will study it. That is, finish reading the verse. He will perfect his favor to you and to the family of Jacob. Not only to you, but to others as well, other people as well. He will perfect his favor to you and to the family of Jacob. It will be like he perfected it to your fathers, Abraham and Isaac, before you. Truly, your Lord is the all-knowing, the perfectly wise. Okay, let me see. Sarah conclusion. Envy is satanic because in this attitude, I am seeing the person as privileged as opposed to created by God, given. In this case, I observe the giver and turn my also created need to the same giver, to the same creator, so that this sense of envy will be directed to the right direction. Thank you, Sarah. It's perfectly summarized, inshallah. So, ta'wil. You can use ta'wil in ru'ya as well. First of all, a hadith is different from ru'ya. So, ta'bir ru'ya is ru'ya, but a hadith is something, events. What is the difference between events and ru'ya? It means a dream. The event is really created, purely objective out there. It means you can see it, you can touch it, you can communicate it, you can study it. Whereas dream is also created by God, but without human free will interference, something happens there, and beyond human being's choice, it happens within himself, created somewhere. It doesn't matter in the brain or what, it's created, whether through brain or through eye, through nose, doesn't matter. So it is created. It cannot happen by itself. So even it is a function of the brain, but it is the apparent cause. So apparent cause means it is related to the existence of brain. This is the order of creation. No problem at all. It's the order of creation. As the order of creation is that the milk comes from the sheep or the cow. It is created in this way. It doesn't mean that sheep or cow is producing the milk, or the cells of the cow is producing the milk. They are all created. This is the order. So dream is a creation out of order, but it is not that human free will is interfering in it and choosing it. So what happens? Something is given there, and you cannot really see it and observe it and examine it, repeat it, test it. So you can interpret it in any way you use it. So there is a difference between hadith, it is events, and dream. Dream is personal, open to arbitrary interpretations, because there is no exact base principles of interpreting the dreams. It is just as arbitrary, depending on your tendencies or understandings, expectations, etc., etc., your previous experiences, what it reminds you. It may be the remnants of previous records of your memory whatever it is, but it's not really palpable, testable, and also rationally analyzable. You can just speculate on it. But there is a difference in dream. The Quran uses also, for example, if we will see towards the end of the section, Yusuf, verse 100, هذا تأويل رؤياي. What does it mean? هذا, this dream is the interpretation of my dream. Hada, what is hada? It's very interesting. What is hada? This means now something created, and it is an event now. Yusuf's brothers, Yusuf's parents came and united with Yusuf again, and they prostrated physically before him. It means submitted his prophethood and confirmed it, believed in his prophethood. This is the meaning of the dream. I understand now. That is in ta'wil. This is not ta'bir. We have to be careful with the Quranic words. Why? After it has been physically created, interpreted, and presented to people in the creation, again realized by God, it becomes an event, which is called a hadith, or hadithah is one event, a hadith, events, plural. So hadithah, it becomes an hadithah. It means created event. Then you can say that, I understood the ta'wil of my dream as created by God, not my arbitrary, baseless interpretation. So if someone comes to you and without realizing, of course, tells you that Quran uses ta'wil ru'ya, it means ru'ya also can be like ta'wil of the hadith. No. هذا تأويل رؤياي. This event, so we understood, became clear what it really means. Did Yusuf before try to interpret his dream? No. Was he expecting of anything as a result? No. Do you understand that? So dream is a part of our life. We cannot really deny that we dream almost every day, whether we remember or not, or those people who study human brain know that we dream always while we are sleeping. Not always, but deep REM sleep. During the sleep, we dream. But we may not remember. That is why it is important. Now, it is come now, Ta'wilul Ahadith. Outside there, we experience the things there. And through reflecting on them and trying to see what meaning they refer to as signs. Ta'wil means, it comes from whatever it is. It's a awwala yu'awwil. Ta'wil also something that we do it in the right way or wrong way. We will study this. This is important, this word. Ta'wil, how can I explain it? Now, if there is an event, and while I am looking at the event, I say, this must mean this. but I'm observing the event and thinking about it. For example, when another example, when I read a sentence, I make interpretations. There are two types of ta'wil as it is used in the Quran. If we are familiar with the Quran, or if we speak about the Quran, if we hear the people speaking and narrating from the Quran, we have to be very careful if it is related to ta'wil, this word, interpretation. Some verses in the Quran, as it is here, that the ta'wil is a very prophetic mission. It means very good that we have to do it. We have to look at it and make it appropriate to the purpose. Now, I will give an example. God willing, we will all understand this. Or some people with a bad intention, they look at the event, and then what appears there does not fit to their expectations, to their prejudices. What do? They again interpret the event in order to fit into their wrong ideas. Oh, what does it mean? Let's say, take a jar, and this jar has a lid, right? When you take the lid and look at the jar, there is a relationship. I mean, in literature, for example, it may be a literal meaning, it may be an analogy, it may be a simile, I mean, it may be storytelling so that we can really try to make sense of something out of it. So the parable, what we have to do now is we take the lid and directly put on the jar, it may not fit. What do? Now we start turning it, twisting it. One of the meaning of ta'wil is twisting. Is the right way or in the wrong way? Now we are talking about the right way. Ta'wilul hadith, as it is in the case of Prophet Yusuf. So, what do? We do this way or another way, and find exactly the fitting position and then try turning. Now, this is a good way of using the opportunity of ta'wil. When we read a sentence, we say, oh, this sentence is really making an analogy. It is just an, metaphoric teaching. What we have to do, we have to try to understand what reality it represents. So what we have to do, we have to take the words and see the appropriate way of understanding the words of this sentence and make it fit to the jar, or the edge of the jar, and then fix it. Now we understood that this, for example, metaphor means this. I understand now. But it must be realistic. Okay, realistic means as the reality is there, we should have no prejudice about it. That is important. We should have no prejudice about it. Well, about the subject. But the people who decide, for example, we see that all the scientific events are interpreted by certain people, scientists. What do? while they are telling the scientific events, it means how God is creating within the order of this universe. It means creating the universe within order and creating it within this order as planned by God. They demonstrate the event, but what do they do now? They say, if I really make an interpretation which appropriately fits it, it will end up with believing in God, the creator, a conscious creator, with an absolute conscious creator. No, I don't believe in God. This is not physical things. That's my subject. I have to fit it into my materialistic worldview. Let's take the same example again. Take a jar and take a lid. Lid is your standing. Lid is what the text says, all the universe says, event says, a hadith, events, what the events say. Now, but my jar is my intention. I have a very restricted, preconditioned worldview, which I have to look at the universe, interpret everything in order to fit into my materialistic worldview. Matter is the source of existence itself. What do we do? Now the jar, the head of the jar, or how do you say, brim of the jar is broken. What do we do now? We take the event or sentence and try to fix it, fit it. It doesn't fit. It is broken. What do we do? Because the jar is there, my intention, bad intention is there, I have to bend the lid in a way that it will fit on my broken, it means prejudice, wrong ideology. That is called in the Quran. Also, another example in the Quran, there are straightforward sentences in the Quran, or the verses in the Quran, but there are also some verses that they need to be interpreted in the way that human beings may like, to appropriate it, to make it fit into their own selfish desires. Only those people who have a corrupt heart will go into interpretation of these the metaphorical teachings or similes or whatever the literature qualities are used and employed in the verse, they try to fix their own personal preconditioned ideologies. Only those people, in our example, whose jar is broken, already corrupted. So what do they do now? They bend the, it's in our example, let's say that it is a tin lead. So they bend the lead in order to fit their own expectations. That is also blamed in the Quran. What we have to do, we always interpret the events when we look at the universe. It is inevitable. We always interpret any sentence, any word as we read it. It is inevitable. No, for example, if you write a sentence, which is not mathematical formulations, but these are fixed. So a sentence, and try to tell something, And let's say you are a professor in a university or college, so you have 100 students, and ask them, what did they understood from this short paragraph or a sentence, and not a simple sentence that I came. No, it's a sentence, but not like this. Open to interpretation. If you have 100 students, you definitely will have 100 different interpretations of the same sentence or paragraph. What does it mean? It is open to interpretations. Everything is open to interpretations. The Quran says, ayatullah, everything in the Quran, in the universe, everything is the sign of God. But we have to look at them and interpret the event, either end up with saying that this is the act of the Creator, or we can say it happened, this happened, this happened. As a result, accidentally, this came out. We can say this one as well. This is also the same for every event, for every sentence. We always live with interpretations, ta'wil. So we have to pay attention to our intention. When we make the ta'wil, what happens? We have to be careful about our interpretations. We should have no prejudice. We should have no biased ideology. Now, we should always have good intention, open-mindedness, and try to see what the message is really there with a good intention. We shouldn't really condition ourselves in any way. So we have to understand that in the verse we will read later on, that Allah will say, وَآتَيْنَاهُ حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا. It means we have given God, Prophet Yusuf the power or the wisdom in both sense, power or a wise power, or power to be used wisely, and knowledge. So if we are gifted, if we ask God, he will gift us with these qualities. If we are gifted with these qualities, then we can make the interpretation of the events, and we can see the interpretations of our dreams in the right way. So we have to check ourselves. Now the verse 7 says, in the story of Joseph and his brothers, there are messages for all who search for the truth. Now, Lissa'ilin, asking for something, but why for the truth in bracket? Because, of course, if someone is asking which guidance that I will get from these verses of the Quran or God's speech, I must be asking for the truth. That is why the Quran doesn't use extra words for nothing. So, لقد كان في يوسف وإخوته آيات للسائلين. What does it mean? His messages. There are messages in this story. Not one meaning, not one message, but there are messages, many messages. So their life is their life presented to us in the Quran has many aspects that we have to benefit from. Not only from one aspect. We said that Yusuf, for example, represents human conscience. It doesn't mean that only one human conscience, but at the same time, as a prophet, living prophet, as a person who went through different life experiences, I may go and see in my life how they reflect in my own life and try to benefit from the story of Yusuf. For example, Jacob loves Yusuf for his mission. He is going to be appointed as a prophet. He understood his character, or as a prophet, God let him know. It is not our business. But Jacob's love for Yusuf was for his mission, his honesty, his character. Whereas the wife of the Aziz, in this story we will read, also loves Yusuf. There is a difference. Her love for Yusuf is for his physical appearance, in order to satisfy her passion. Now, the same story, same man, one of them uses it for the sake of the truth, the other one uses it for the sake of his or her passion. What does it mean? We have to be very careful. We are set free. We are given freedom. We are given free will to interpret these stories in any way we like. But this interpretation may be right, may be wrong. That's why while we are interpreting the verses of the Quran, we have to seek refuge with God in order to receive his guidance, ask him to guide me to understand these stories in a way that is true, and I will benefit from it for the sake of reality, for the sake of truth. Otherwise, if someone looks at the universe, studies the universe, investigates the things, and reads a sentence, whether the sentence written by an ordinary man or a behavior presented to us by the prophet, or a sentence revealed by God, regardless of any nature of the object we have here, maybe creation, maybe behavior of a person, maybe a speech written in the book, or we hear it. It is inevitable for every human being to interpret it. It means no way that I am being realistic. No, you are interpreting. Even when I read the verse, for example, لقد كان في يوسف وإخوته آيات للسائلين. What does it mean? آيات للسائلين. It means, oh my friends, be a person of sa'il, searcher, questioner, investigator. I'm emphasizing on it. I'm interpreting the word the way that I like to draw your attention. And also ayatun. Why? Not one word, one way of interpreting the same story and will be correct. There are various main ways of interpreting the same story, and these various ways may be also correct. Every approach may be correct or wrong. So there are many signs in these stories that while we are studying also, we have to be careful that we cannot say that this is how I understood. It doesn't mean that I understood and let's assume that I am right. No one can guarantee that, but I am right. And anybody who understands differently from me may necessarily be wrong. That is not right. It may be right as well by understanding in another way, because the Quran or the speech of God or the creation of God has infinite aspects in it, because the creator is an absolute being. So inshallah, we should end up, although we didn't study 1 hour, but some of us have not prayed, because next week also we will start in time. I was ready to start in time, but there was something strange happening. Inshallah, khair. Inshallah, it will be good for us. And we have to accept whatever is created by God. Something went wrong. I have no idea. I am puzzled as well, and I seek refuge with God that it will be good for us, and the result will be good for us, inshallah. But we have to trust in God's choice, inshallah. It happened something beyond our choice, beyond our will. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Do you have any other, any concern, any questions, anything, please? No,
I do have questions, but I think it will extend the time we have. So if you don't mind, I can save them for next class, or?
No, just if you like, maybe go ahead. First, let's listen here. If I think that it will take long to discuss, then we can, inshallah, discuss next week, and you can remind us the question. Please go ahead.
Okay. So my comment, question, if you will, is about the topic of ta'wil that we were discussing. As far as our own approach is in approaching sort of Quranic text and the stories of the prophets, whether in this class or in the Monday sessions, I would say that your definition of ta'wil follows some of those principles that we use in approaching the Quran in these classes and the stories. So is that correct to assume that, we're using the same principles really, which is interpreting it within certain principles, but making sure that we are aware of our biases and also ask for refuge in any misinterpretations as a result of attaching, any power or of understanding to ourselves. So that was one question, and then or comment. And the other thing is, like, usually
sorry, excuse me. I cannot take 2 points at the same time.
Okay.
So what is the question here?
I mean, the question was, or I guess it was just asking for a confirmation, if that is true, that the approach to this studying the story and the Quran, that the way we've do it in other classes, is how you've described this concept of ta'wil here. Is that true?
Now, as far as I know, and my intention is concerned, I am trying to understand the verses of the Quran in a way that which fits my human expectations, human qualities, and what the universe witnesses to. it is obvious that the universe cannot come into existence by itself. So what I do then, if it cannot come into existence by itself, if I am sure about it, then I have to read the universe, I have to read the Quran as appropriate to my interpretations of the universe, so that I will get to know the creator of the universe through how he reveals his qualities in his work. So this is my main, if you like, path to interpret the Quranic verses and look at the word. But the first thing, if you call it, is a prejudice, but you can call it, but somebody can call it. But I see, not being a Muslim, not being a believer at all, as a human being, my logic, my capacity can never give a chance to the universe that it will exist by itself. Impossible. So after making sure this, so I go into the understanding, which starts with who is the creator of the universe, which is in the language of the Quran, who Allahu. Who is this Allah? Alladhi la ilaha illahu. Nothing can be the creator. Nothing can have a divine quality in this universe, which makes sense to me. So I understand that the universe points to its creator. So everything must be understood, that's my principle, in order to get to know who the creator is, because I know that there must be a creator, not of the universe, kind of the universe at all, completely different from the universe, and it is physically or essentially unknowable. It means essentially cannot be perceived. Essentially, I am saying, in his essence. But you can logically understand, you can emotionally, using your human feelings, confirm it, that it really, the creator must be someone who is not like any of this universe. That's why I love this verse in the Quran, Huwa Allahu la ilaha illa huwa. That repeat looks like repetition. This creator is called God. He is not like any of the part of this universe, but only he himself is a unique being. I understand that that's correct. So all my interpretation, or the interpretation I learned is from belief perspective. It means for the sake of understanding my belief in God in detail. So acknowledging who my creator is and attributing myself to him. I do everywhere in this one. This is what I learned from my readings, and I found it very satisfactory for myself, and I share it. I don't use any other purpose, even related to religion, because the other purposes are dealt with by other people. So this belief perspective is very important. The universe must be used for belief in the creator and understand the creator through his work. His Quran, his speech must be understood for the same purpose. That is what we are doing here. And I think you mean this, then it is correct. That's what we are doing here. Yes?
Yes, I think you explained it.
Yeah. I think we have to stop. So inshallah. Yeah, what time is it? Yes, I haven't prayed. I have to pray, and the time is getting really tight. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Subhanaka la ilma lana illa ma 'allamtana innaka antal alim al-hakim. Wa akhiru da'wahum an alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin bi hurmati sirri surati al-Fatiha. Yeah, thank you.